soon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. We just started the recording. Um, so thank you again for joining us. We're gonna wait a little bit, just one more minute before we start.
Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hope you all had a wonderful week 3. Welcome to our third SARcast hosted by the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. Today we will be covering how to write an effective cover letter. My name is Sophie and I am one of your SARC peer consultants. I am also joined today by my fellow colleague and SARC peer consultant.
Hi, I am Elizabeth Hafen. I am a peer consultant. I'm a fourth year double majoring in political science and psychology.
If you have any questions, please submit them through the Zoom Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. We will be addressing all questions at the end. This webinar will be recorded, so you will all be receiving a copy of the slides. So without further ado, let's get started.
Before we get started, I think we all have different knowledges about cover letters. Some of us might not know what they are, and some of us might have written a cover letter before, but just want to improve on our current cover letter skills. But no matter what, we're going to cover all the bases today. And just to get started, what do you know what like before we get started, just share in the comments below what a cover letter is, just right off the top. Okay, so a cover letter is a one-page document that introduces you and your professional background and kind of allows you to provide more details about your journey and experiences to the hiring team. This can sound like a resume, but it's not. Something that's really important to remember is that a resume is a list of bullet points, and while a cover letter complements a resume, the cover letter doesn't just repeat the same information that is in the resume. Cover letters are used by hiring teams to get an idea of what type of applicant you are. It allows you to paint a picture of who you are and why you are applying to this position. By the end of it, the hiring team should get 2 takeaways from you. The first takeaway is, why are you the perfect candidate for the position? And 2, why you're drawn to the program and company. Next slide, please.
So before we start talking about the structure and the format, I want to remind everyone that you can think of your cover letter as a complement to your resume. Like Elizabeth mentioned, the cover letter is used by the hiring committee to further gauge what type of applicant you are. Because they are complements, it's best that their formats match each other. This means using the same fonts, having the same headers, and putting the headers in the same place. The header contains your contact information, such as your email, your phone number, and the city and state you're based in. To protect your own privacy, include only the city and state and not your full address. If you have a LinkedIn, this would be the perfect place to attach it. In the past, cover letters have included employer contact information, but as we've entered the digital age, this section has become more of a formality than an actual need. Next, the salutation. It's important to get the name of the person you're addressing the letter to. It shows that you've done your research and that you've made an effort and you want the position. You can find names by looking for the person who posted the job description or looking at the organization's website. If you're unable to find a name, don't settle for to whom it may concern. Instead, write to the hiring committee, as they will be the ones reviewing your application. Next, we will be moving on to the next parts of the cover letter, which is the introduction. Next slide. So today we're going to be focusing more on a traditional cover letter, but just know that you can take a more creative approach to the first paragraph. In the first paragraph, you want to introduce yourself. You may include your major and your year. For example, I am a third year blank major at the University of California, Irvine. Next, state your reason for contacting the organization or company and the position you are seeking. Answer the question, why are you writing this letter? Organizations may have many job openings at the same time, so be sure to include the specific position you are applying for. If someone referred you to this position, mention this in the introduction to distinguish yourself from other candidates early on. You may also mention where you found out about the position, but this is optional. Then briefly mention an accomplishment, a skill, or a passion, one that makes you stand out as a candidate. Answer the questions. Why are you excited to contribute? What will you offer? At this point, it's important to refer back to the responsibilities or qualification section of the job description. Don't dive too far into specifics. You'll have a chance to elaborate this in the body paragraph.
Before I move on to the body part, I want to remind everyone that as we're going through these slides, please write your questions in the Q&A section down below. That way at the end, we have a list of questions that we can get through. Okay, so next slide, please. So a good way to think about this part of a cover letter is about telling your story. Here, it kind of allows you to tell a picture of your background, what you've done, your accomplishments, and why you're applying to this position. So in this section, you should highlight your background and tie it in with your past and be able to just very specifically explain why you really like this program / company. A common mistake is to just list down your accomplishments, but it's very important that you're telling a story, so you just don't want to do the same thing as a resume where you just start listing a bunch of your skills or accomplishments. You want to weave them into an overall story. You're writing in the present tense, so it kind of gives this kind of sense that it's an active voice, and the person reading it knows that it's kind of an ongoing process. And also in this section, it will allow the person reading your cover letter get an idea of why you're the perfect candidate. So to do that, you have to write specific examples and stories that show how you developed key skills. And something really good to note is that in this part, you should be looking at the job description and looking at the key skills that they're looking for and include those here. Include skills that they want and explain how you have gained them through your experiences. Next slide, please. So the next part is the conclusion. This is the call to action. What do you want to leave the reader with? Here you should reaffirm your interest in the position and recap how your skills and experiences are good for the position. You should always express your desire to arrange an interview and include how you can be reached. So that can be seen in the format of, you can reach me at my phone number here. And at the end, you should thank them for their consideration of reading your resume slash cover letter. At the end, you should include a formal salutation. So that is sincerely, best regards, kind regards, thank you, and thanking them for their time. And typically, a good idea is saying, I have attached my resume for your consideration if they have not previously asked for your resume. So here's a good place to include that resume and say that you're including it. And just to wrap this part up is just how do you want to be remembered? And this is the key point of the conclusion. So now I want to go over some of your questions. Is there any questions that you guys might have about cover letters?
Please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen. But in the meantime, we're going to be answering some common questions about the cover letters. So first, what if the application says that cover letters are optional? So you want to still include it. Employers are looking for people who have the skills for the job and people who will mesh well with their existing teams and are passionate about what they do. Whereas your resume describes your experience, your cover letter is the one that really brings out your personality and makes you unique. A lot of people can analyze, implement, or design, but the way you do it is unique to you. Were you forced to, or did you initiate? How efficient were you, and how did you achieve it? Did you meet the minimum expectations, or did you go beyond? What were the results, and how did it impact your organization? So you want to expand on your experiences in the cover letter.
Someone asked in the Q&A, will you email these slides? Yes, we will email you these slides. And not only that, this is being recorded. So if you go to our YouTube channel, it also will be available there on the YouTube channel. And we can give that information at the end and how to reach the YouTube channel. Another common question is, should I include in the cover letter why I am on the job market? And the simple answer is no. Typically, no, you don't want to say why you're in the job market. They don't really need to know that. You're trying to highlight yourself. And sometimes when you're trying to say, oh, I'm in the job market because X reason, it kind of can give a bad light to you. So it's something just to avoid. And just avoid it all completely.
So another common question, should I follow up after sending my cover letter? So typically not immediately. A well-organized program will confirm when they'll have decisions by. So at least a week after your deadline for your program to follow up with your employer.
Yeah, to add into that, typically when you're applying to programs or positions, you will send your cover letter or resume and they will let you know, we are taking up to X date to give responses by. So if they say that after you send your resume, then don't follow up, just give them to that time. And once that time has passed and they haven't gotten back to you, then you have to reach out. But typically, a lot of programs will just let you know that they're going to give you a response by a certain time and date. But if they don't do that, but for whatever reason, I would say wait like a week or two to just kind of give a gentle reminder. And that can be seen by just saying, hello, I applied, I sent my resume on X date. I'm just curious on your timeline for the hiring process. Please let me know. Sincerely, so-and-so.
Another common question is, what should I not include in the cover letter? So you don't have to include your age, marital status, religion, or a picture of yourself. In fact, many employers ask that you don't include a picture of yourself in both your resumes and your cover letter. Remember that they could potentially be your employer, so just use common sense and be appropriate.
A chat that we have a question that we have in the chat. Sorry, um, someone asked, do we write our cover letters in present or past tense? This is a good question because you want to be in the present tense to be active while simultaneously talking about the things that you have done, right? So in especially in the introduction and the conclusion, you want to write it in the present tense. But in the body paragraph, you can write in the past tense to talk about what you have done. You can write, I've done this, and this is my journey, and this is what took me here, and this is what I've done, and now this created a passion for X thing, and I know this company is great at this thing, and this is what leads me here. So yes and no. So present and past tense, it's just a way to allow you to be an active speaker to the hiring committee.
So another question we got was, do cover letters elaborate on how your skills are valuable? And the answer is yes. Like I've mentioned, the employers are looking for people who have the skills for the job, which you explain in your resume, and people who will mesh well with their team and are passionate about what they do. And this one way to kind of show this is through the cover letter. And yes, that's where you'll elaborate how your skills are useful and how you can mesh well with their team.
A question in the chat was, should you mention the future? And this is interesting. And this is a really good question because when you're trying to tell a company, I want to do this when I grow up and you would help me next way, what the company also or program, what they read is what you can bring to them. So they want to know how you as an applicant can mesh well with the company. And sometimes they don't want to hear about how you're using them as a stepping stone. So what is a common mistake is that saying, well, if I go to this program, then I'll be able to do this program. And so programs don't want to be used. So avoiding things like that is a very good thing to do. So when you're trying to talk about the future, you can say, I want to become a lawyer, and this program has the best program in X type of law. And I know that I can grow so much as an attorney here, and I know that's going to set me up really well in the future. But you don't want to talk about how you're going to use them per se.
Okay, back to some common questions. Should we include our availability when we express our desire for an interview or a position? So this varies. Typically, no, because they're the ones who will be employing you and they will reach out and contact you. However, under certain circumstances, for example, you're around the area for only a limited period of time, then you can. So one example of this is the UCDC program. Elizabeth, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, so I did UCDC this winter, so winter 2020. And something that they told us to do when we were writing cover letters is to include how long we were going to stay in DC, because a lot of the internships were semester-long programs, and we only had a quarter. So I had to tell them I am available to start working from this date, and I have to leave by this date. And that's just because sometimes there's scheduling conflicts and depending on the internship. But something that a lot of people did is if upon request, I can change that. And so what that gives is that if you want me more, and if potentially you want to hire me after UCDC, I can do that. So if you are doing something like that, going to UCDC, where you're only going to have a limited time to be there, then yes, I'm going to be from this time and to this date here. Other than that, I wouldn't say so. Just say I'm applying to your winter internship. Yeah. Another common question is, what is the worst cover letter mistake? And this is a really, really good question because it's writing too many cover letters. And that might sound a little bit oxymoron, but programs and companies can tell when a cover letter is mass produced. They can tell that you didn't put in the time to make that cover letter apply specifically to them. And that kind of shows that you don't really care about this program or company. You didn't put in the time to really research this program and tell them why they're so great. And so common mistakes is the whom it may concern. That kind of is the first giveaway that you might have just used the same cover letter and used it everywhere. So a way to avoid that is write a different cover letter for every single program. Start from scratch and really tailor it to that program, because that's when it's going to make you stand out from the rest. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Is there any other questions right now that you guys may have? I know that we're going through a lot in a really short time, and cover letters are really confusing and really daunting to do. So is there any concerns about cover letters? Anything that you want to maybe specify about cover letters? If there is no further questions, I am going to conclude this Startcast. I want to thank everyone once again for joining us today. We really hope that you were able to take away something from today's webinar. Our next Startcast will focus on how to ask for an internship. And I'm going to put the RSVP for that webinar in the chat. Actually, Sophie, can you put the link? And so yeah, that's gonna be the next Startcast. As a reminder, the Social Science Academic Research Center is available to support you in your professional endeavors. We provide feedback on your resumes and cover letters. You can schedule a consultation with us today to talk about internships or graduate school. We are available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if you would like more information, our website is going to be linked also in the chat. So I'm going to wait till that is linked. And with that, we are finished with this Startcast. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for coming.